In this second video, I'm going to review Ancestry terms and conditions and see how long it takes me to read them. So here they are here. We click on that. And we can see that they go on for quite a while. I'm reckoning it takes me about half an hour, 30 minutes to read through these. Effective as of June the 5th, 2018. Welcome to Ancestry. Thank you for using our services. These terms and conditions, the terms, set forth our mutual agreement as to your rights and responsibilities when you use the Ancestry websites, services and mobile apps that link to these terms, in brackets, the services, close brackets. By using any of the services, you are agreeing to these terms. You're also agreeing to comply with our Ancestry community rules, which are incorporated herein by reference. So in fact, the Ancestry community rules also form part of the terms and conditions. We may have to read through those to be fully compliant with the terms and conditions. If I have time, I'll read through them, but I'll just stick to this particular terms and conditions document for the moment. So back to the document. Please read these documents carefully. They contain information, important information, about your rights and your responsibilities when you use the services. Your privacy is very important to us. Our privacy statement, which I read in a previous video, sets forth important information on how we collect, process, use and share your data and is incorporated by reference herein. So the privacy statement is part of these terms and conditions as well. Please read the privacy statement carefully. In particular, you should be aware that we do not share your genetic information as defined in the privacy statement with employers, insurance providers or third-party marketers without your consent, and will not share your genetic information with law enforcement unless compelled by valid legal process as described in our privacy statement. Any sharing of genetic information for scientific research is governed by our informed consent to research, which only applies if you expressly agree to participate. Important things for you to understand when you use our services. You always maintain ownership of your data, but we need the ability to use your data for the purposes set out in our privacy statement and these terms, and if you agree to it in our informed consent to research. You may discover unanticipated facts about yourself or your family when using our services that you may not have the ability to change. For example, you may discover an unknown genetic sibling or parent, surprising facts about your own ethnicity, or unexpected information in public records. As we are constantly striving to improve the services we provide you, your data may be used to enhance our existing user experience or to develop new products and services. Unless expressly stated otherwise, each new feature that we add to the services will also be subject to these terms. You may at any time request that we delete your data and account as described in our privacy statement. Our services are very diverse, so sometimes additional or separate terms may apply. In any additional terms will be specified with the relevant services, and those additional terms become a part of your agreement with us if you use those services. Separate terms may also apply to special offers or promotions, and if the rules of a promotion or special offer conflict with these terms, those special terms will prevail. We are constantly changing and improving our services, and thus we may add or remove functionality or features from the services, and we may suspend or stop a service altogether, as they did with the Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA databases, and as they did also with Family Tree Maker, and then they passed it on to another company, and that company has it now. So, if you have any questions about these terms or our services, please contact us. To help you read these terms, we've broken them down into the following sections. Number 1, eligibility to use the services. Number 2, your use of the services. 3, additional terms applicable to your use of DNA services. 4, renewals and cancellations for Ancestry services. 5, content used in the services. 6, termination or suspension of your account. 7, modifications to these terms. 8, warranty. 9, limit of liability. 10. Your indemnity. 11. Services offered by other companies. 12. Controlling law. 13. Dispute resolution. 14. Miscellaneous. So, Section 1. Eligibility to use the services. Users of the services may include unregistered guests, free registered guests, paid subscribers, and people who purchase and or activate a DNA kit. These are all, as a conglomerate, called users. You may need to create an account to use the services, and to protect your Ancestry account, please keep your password confidential. You must provide accurate, complete, and current registration information when you register. The services are intended for adults in the countries where they are being offered. For example, services being offered at ancestry.co.uk are intended for users in the UK, the United Kingdom. Now, it's interesting what they say here, that you must provide accurate, complete, and current registration information when you register. Does that mean you're not allowed to use a false name? Does that mean you're not allowed to use initials? And a lot of people do. And the second thing is, if you don't, and you're technically in breach of the terms, so what? How would they know? And if they did find out, what would they do about it? Is there any consequence to being in breach of the terms and conditions? Let's read on and find out. DNA services. You must be at least 18 years old to purchase or activate a DNA kit. To protect your privacy when you share your DNA with us, each adult who submits a saliva sample for a DNA test must create their own account. The problem there, of course, is with your 97-year-old aunt who doesn't have an email address and who is not computer literate, is therefore banned or excluded from being allowed to do a DNA test. So one could argue that's an infringement of her human rights. In addition, depending on the country where the person provided the saliva sample is located, such person may also be required to explicitly consent to the processing of sensitive personal information when they activate their DNA kit. A parent or legal guardian may activate a DNA test, provide us personal information, and send us the saliva sample of a minor child for processing using an account for that child that is directly managed by the parent or legal guardian. They don't say anything, though, about elderly people. By activating a DNA test for or submitting any personal information about a minor, you represent that you are the minor's parent or legal guardian. Well, I'm certainly not the legal guardian of my 97-year-old aunt. So I'd have to get her legal guardian. Who would that be? You also agree that you have discussed the DNA test with the minor and the minor has agreed to the collection and processing of their saliva. Other services. While our other services are intended for adults, if you are between the ages of 13 and 18, you may use the other services with your parents' or guardian's permission. Children under the age of 13 are not permitted to use any services. We do not knowingly seek or collect any personal information directly from children under the age of 13. If Ancestry becomes aware that we have unknowingly collected any personal data directly from a child under the age of 13, we will take commercially reasonable efforts to delete such data from our system. Section 2. Your use of the services. Requirements for using the services. In exchange for your access to the services, including the DNA services described below, you agree, firstly, to comply with the Ancestry community rules. So we have to read that document by clicking on the link. You agree to comply with all applicable laws. You agree not to resell the services or to resell, reproduce or publish any content or information found on the services except as explicitly described in these terms. You agree not to circumvent, disable or otherwise interfere with security-related features of the services or features that prevent or restrict use or copying of any content or enforce limitations on use of the services or the content therein, including with bots, crawlers, spiders, data miners, scraping or other automatic access tools. You agree you are responsible for all usage and activity on the services made via your account, and you agree you will contact us if you suspect your account has been breached or used without your authorization. Section 3. Additional terms applicable to your use of DNA services. As used in these terms, the DNA services refers to the use of our DNA collection kit, processing and handling of your DNA sample, genetic testing of your DNA sample, and our web or mobile app-based tools that provide you with ethnicity and other genetically related results and associated services, offer you the ability to view genetic matches that can identify potential relatives, help you explore your ethnic and family origins, and make new discoveries through your DNA. The purpose of the DNA services is to provide genetic and genealogy results and related reports for your informational, recreational, educational, and research use. I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger. If you have received a bone marrow or stem cell transplant, your Ancestry DNA test may provide unexpected results because your saliva may contain cells with your DNA as well as cells with your donor's DNA. DNA for the test is extracted from the cells, and the combination of DNA sources can result in a failed test or a test that provides results based on your donor's DNA. Therefore, we recommend that those who have received a bone marrow or stem cell transplant do not take the Ancestry DNA test. If you have already taken the test, please contact us for further assistance. Requirements for using the DNA services. By using the DNA services, you also agree you will not resell DNA test kits. Any saliva sample you provide is either your own or the saliva of a person for whom you are a parent or legal guardian. You will not send a saliva sample if you have reason to believe you have an active infectious disease. If you are outside the US, you will not send us a sample if sending us a sample would violate any export ban or other restriction in the country in which you reside or from which you are sending the sample. You will not use the DNA services outside of the country to which your Ancestry DNA kit was shipped. That by providing a DNA sample or additional user information to us, you acquire no rights in any research or commercial products developed by us or our collaborators, and will receive no compensation related to any such research or product development. And you will not use the information obtained from the DNA services, including any downloaded raw DNA data, in whole, in part, or in combination with any other database for any medical, diagnostic, or paternity testing purposes, or for any discriminatory purpose or illegal activity. Well, that's interesting because it is possible to download your data and then upload it to Prometheus. It may also mean that you cannot download your information and put it into a separate database. But this is for medical, diagnostic, or paternity testing, or discriminatory, or illegal. So you cannot use your data apparently for medical purposes. So I wonder how that fits with Prometheus, which is a free service that gives you a medical risk assessment based on your direct-to-consumer DNA test. Anyway, we'll move on. You also agree that we may directly or through other companies who help us provide the DNA services, provide your saliva sample and DNA to other companies that help us provide the services, such as laboratories, extract your DNA from your saliva, perform genetic tests in the United States or in the future in other countries on the resulting DNA using test methods available now or developed in the future. Compare your DNA results with other DNA data in the Ancestry database to provide the services, including matching you to others in our database with whom you share DNA. Disclose to you and others that you authorize the results of the tests performed. Store your DNA results in accordance with these terms and privacy statement. Store your saliva and any extracted DNA in the United States, or destroy any remaining saliva or DNA sample after your sample has been processed. In any case, once submitted to us, your saliva and DNA sample cannot be returned to you. You also agree to allow certain of our laboratory partners to use a portion of activated or unactivated saliva samples to calibrate or validate instruments, equipment, or laboratory methods used in providing DNA services. And finally, you agree to use your genetic information and other personal information as described in these terms and the privacy statement. If you choose to download a copy of your raw DNA data, you are responsible for storing, securing, and protecting that downloaded data. While we protect your information in our web and data systems, once you download the raw DNA data, that copy will not be protected by our security measures. Your raw DNA data is for your personal use only and should not be used for medical, diagnostic, or paternity testing purposes. So that would be against the use of Ancestry being uploaded to Prometheus. Ancestry DNA data being uploaded to Prometheus. Section 4, renewals and cancellation for ancestry services. Your subscriptions to the services and your purchase and use of the DNA services are subject to the renewal and cancellation terms, which are incorporated herein. So this is yet again another document that you have to read if you want to go through all of the terms and conditions, the renewal and cancellation terms. Content used in the services, section 5. Ancestry content. The services contain photos, videos, documents, records, indexes of content, and other content that are owned by or are licensed to Ancestry. We refer to this content as Ancestry content. Except for web search records, which are governed by the third parties that host the records, all Ancestry content is owned by or licensed to us and may be used only in accordance with these terms. You may use the Ancestry content only as necessary for your personal use of the services or your professional family history research, and download the Ancestry content only as search results relevant to that research or where expressly permitted by Ancestry. With respect to Ancestry content, you agree to keep all copyright and other proprietary notices on any Ancestry content you download or print. You agree not to distribute, republish, or sell significant portions of Ancestry content. Significant portions. But you can distribute, republish, or sell insignificant portions of any Ancestry content, is what that last sentence implies. So that raises the question, what is considered an insignificant portion of any Ancestry content? For example, taking a screenshot of content on Ancestry and using it in a PowerPoint presentation for your local family history society. That would not be a breach of these terms and conditions, I would surmise. Going back to the document, public domain content. Some Ancestry content may be in the public domain and yet also subject to restrictions on reuse. We refer to Ancestry content in the public domain as public domain content. You are free to use a small portion of individual photos and documents that are public domain content, but you must obtain our written permission to use more than a small portion of these collections. If you have any questions about your use of public domain content, please contact us. Personal information and user-provided content. When you use the services, you provide us with different types of information. For an explanation of personal information and a description of the types of personal information you may provide to us, see our privacy statement. You may ask us to delete your personal information as explained in our privacy statement. In addition, you may provide us with information that is not considered personal information, such as a picture of a tombstone or a story about a relative. In these terms, we refer to this type of information as user-provided content. With respect to user-provided content, you agree that you are solely responsible for your user-provided content. You agree that you represent and warrant that you have all the necessary rights to upload or post your user-provided content, and that your user-provided content complies with the Ancestry community rules. You agree that you will provide Ancestry upon our request with any documentation necessary to evidence your compliance with these terms, and you agree that any user-provided content that you have made public or shared, for example by including such user-provided content in a public Ancestry family tree, as part of your public profile in one of the services, or in a public posting on one of our services, any such information may be used by other users as part of or in conjunction with the services. We will not be required to remove any information or user-provided content that you have made public or has otherwise been shared from the family trees or public profiles of other users. Ancestry has no responsibility or liability related to user-provided content. While we do not routinely monitor user-provided content that is uploaded or posted to the services, we do reserve the right to do so and to use automated tools that monitor user-provided content for violations of these terms, including the Ancestry community rules. We reserve the right, but do not have the obligation, to remove or disable access to any user-provided content that we believe violates these terms, including the Ancestry community rules. If you have concerns that user-provided content posted by other users may infringe your rights, contain illegal material, or violate these terms, please contact us. We are also sensitive to the copyright and other intellectual property rights of others. For complaints regarding copyright infringement or illegal content, click here. Additional user information. You may voluntarily choose to provide additional information about yourself or your family to Ancestry in response to our email surveys or through the services. This is known as additional user information. Additional user information does not include account, profile, payment, or usage details necessary to provide the services or any user-provided content. You may have the option to share your additional user information with other users. Any sharing of additional user information with third parties is governed by our privacy statement. Ownership of personal information, additional user information, and user-provided content. You own your own personal information, additional user information, and user-provided content. But we need certain rights from you to use that information and content. By using the services, you grant us the right to collect, host, transfer, process, analyze, communicate, and store your personal information, including your genetic information, and additional user information in order to A, provide the services to you and other users, B, for the purposes described in these terms and our privacy statement, C, to help our users discover more about their family histories, and D, for any other purpose to which you expressly agree, such as sharing with others. Also, by submitting user-provided content through any of the services, you grant Ancestry a sub-licensable, worldwide, royalty-free license to host, store, copy, publish, distribute, provide access to, create derivative works of, and otherwise use such user-provided content to the extent and in the form or context we deem appropriate, on or through any media or medium and with any technology or devices now known or hereafter developed or discovered. This includes the right for Ancestry to copy, display, and index your user-provided content. Ancestry will own the indexes it creates. We will also have the right to continue to use your user-provided content even if you stop using the services, but only as necessary for us to provide and improve the services. So we're actually giving Ancestry a lot of permission in terms of the use of the data that we provide them. And they can make money out of that as well. Copyright and trademark notice. Each of the services are protected by copyright as a collective work or compilation pursuant to US copyright laws, international conventions, and other copyright laws. The trademarks, service marks, and logos contained in the services are owned by or licensed to us. We and our licensors retain title, ownership, and all other rights and interests in and to all Ancestry content in the services. Section 6. Termination or suspension of your account. We may limit, terminate, or suspend your access to the services without a refund if you breach or act inconsistently with the letter or spirit of these terms or the Ancestry community rules. In such a case, you will not be entitled to a refund of subscription fees or the purchase price of a DNA kit. So this section deals with the consequences of the breaching of the terms and conditions. We may limit, terminate, or suspend your access to the services. So they basically kick you out without a refund. Section 7. Modifications to these terms. We have the right to modify these terms or any additional terms that apply to a service at any time, including to reflect changes to the law or changes to our services. We will notify you of any material changes by posting information through the services or via email. Such material changes will not apply retroactively and will become effective 30 days after they are posted, except that changes addressing new functions in the services or changes made for legal reasons will be effective immediately. Your continued use of the services after a change to the terms will mean you accept the changes, so it's passive consent. If any changes are unacceptable to you, you may stop using the services and, if applicable, cancel your subscription as described here. And you click on the link to access that. Section 8. Warranty. While we hope you enjoy using our services, there are things we don't promise about our services, except, as expressly set out in these terms, we provide the services and the Ancestry content to you on an as-is basis. To the maximum extent permitted by law, we disclaim all warranties, express or implied, including the implied warranties of non-infringement, merchantability, and fitness for a particular purpose. We do not make any promises A, about the Ancestry content, B, about the specific functionality of the services, C, about the quality, accuracy, reliability, or availability of the Ancestry content or services, or D, that the Ancestry content or services will be free from viruses or other harmful components. Section 9. Limit of liability. We limit our liability to the fullest extent allowed by law. We will not be liable for any unintentional damage, any actual, incidental, or consequential damage, or for any loss or claim of any kind. Some jurisdictions do not allow us to have a broad limit on our liability. If you live in one of those jurisdictions, some of these limitations may not apply to you. If you are dissatisfied with any portion of the services or with any statement in these terms, your sole remedy is to stop using the services. And if you are using any of our subscription services, cancel your subscription as described here. Our total liability in any matter related to the services or these terms is limited to the aggregate amount you paid us during the 12-month period preceding the event giving rise to the liability. Section 10. Your indemnity. You agree that you will indemnify and hold Ancestry, our employees, and our agents harmless from any claims, damages, or other expenses, including attorney's fees, that result from your use of the services and A, your violation of these terms or other documents incorporated herein by reference, B, your violation of another person's rights, or C, any claim related to your user-provided content, including a claim that your user-provided content caused damage to another person. This indemnification obligation will continue after you stop using the services. In addition, you release Ancestry from all claims, demands, actions, or suits in connection with your user-provided content, including any liability related to our use or non-use of your user-provided content, claims for defamation, invasion of privacy, right of publicity, emotional distress, or economic loss. Section 11. Services offered by other companies. We may offer you the opportunity to purchase services from other companies, for companies other than Ancestry. Use of those services will be subject to the terms and conditions of the companies offering the services. Please read those terms carefully. We have no responsibility related to any such third-party services. Section 12. Controlling law. If you access the services on our websites in the United States, the laws of the state of Utah, and as applicable those of the United States of America, govern these terms and the use of the services. All claims brought in the United States will be subject to the jurisdiction of the courts of the state of Utah. If you access the services on our websites anywhere other than in the United States, the laws of Ireland govern these terms. Section 13. Dispute resolution. We work hard to keep our customers satisfied. If a dispute arises between you and Ancestry, our goal is to provide a cost-effective means of quickly resolving the dispute. If you have any concern or dispute about the services, you agree to try first to resolve the dispute informally by contacting us. For US customers, if your dispute is not resolved within 30 days after contacting us, then you and Ancestry agree that we will resolve it through final and binding arbitration with the following 3 exceptions. You may assert your dispute if it qualifies in small claims court. Number 2, both you and Ancestry may bring a suit in court in the state of Utah only for a claim of infringement or other misuse of intellectual property rights. In this case, we both waive any right to a jury trial. Number 3, if it qualifies, you may bring a claim to the attention of a relevant federal, state, or local agency that may seek relief against us on your behalf. If you have a subscription and you terminate for our breach after providing us with a 30-day cure period during which we are unable to cure, we will refund any prepaid fees on a prorated basis to you. Arbitration rules. To begin an arbitration proceeding, send a certified letter requesting arbitration and describing your claim to the Ancestry Legal Department, 153 Townsend Street, Suite 800, San Francisco, CA 94107. Any arbitration will be conducted by the American Arbitration Association, AAA, under its rules and will be held in the state of Utah. Note class actions. You may only resolve disputes with us on an individual basis and may not bring a claim as a plaintiff or a class member in a class, consolidated, or representative action. That's interesting. Injunctive relief. If you use the services in violation of these terms, you agree that we are entitled to any injunctive remedy or an equivalent type of urgent legal relief in the appropriate jurisdiction. This dispute resolution process will continue after you have stopped using the services. So dispute resolution for customers outside the US. You agree that the Irish courts will have exclusive jurisdiction over all disputes, contractual or non-contractual, related to this agreement. If you are a European Union consumer, you will benefit from any mandatory provisions of the law of the country in which you are resident. Nothing in this agreement, including the paragraph above, affects your rights as a consumer to rely on such mandatory provisions of local law. Nothing contained in this clause shall limit Ancestry's rights to bring enforcement proceedings in another jurisdiction or to seek interim protective or provisional relief in the courts of another jurisdiction. Additional dispute information for EU members. Information pursuant to Regulation 524/2013. The European Commission provides a platform for online dispute resolution, ODR, available at the following web link. Moving on to section 14, miscellaneous. Ancestry parties. You are entering into these terms with a specific Ancestry entity, depending on what service you are using and where you are geographically located. Please see the list of Ancestry entities by service and geography here. Click the link. All references to Ancestry, us or we, in these terms refer to the relevant Ancestry entity on that list. We reserve the right to change the Ancestry entity which is a party to these terms at any time as a result of a corporate reorganization or otherwise. Entire agreement. These terms, including all rules, guidelines and other documents incorporated herein by reference, state the entire agreement between you and Ancestry regarding your use of the services and supersede any prior agreements we may have related to the services. Notification of changes to the services. Ancestry may contact you within the services via email or physical mail to inform you of changes to the services or these terms. You agree that contact in any of these ways will satisfy any legal communication requirements, including that communication be in writing. Feedback. If you submit feedback or suggestions about Ancestry or our services, we may use your feedback or suggestions for any purpose without any obligation to you. Assignment. We reserve the right to assign or transfer our rights and obligations under this agreement. These terms are personal to you, and as a result you may not, without the written consent of Ancestry, assign or transfer any of your rights and obligations under this agreement. There shall be no third-party beneficiaries to this agreement. If Ancestry is acquired. If Ancestry or its businesses are acquired or transferred to another entity in whole or part and including in connection with bankruptcy or similar proceedings, Ancestry has the right to share your personal information, user-provided content, and additional user information with that entity. These terms will continue to apply to the services until you receive notification of changes to the terms or services. Severability. The unenforceability of any particular section or clause in these terms will not affect the enforceability of the remaining terms. We may replace any unenforceable section or clause with a similar one that is enforceable. No waiver. Our failure to enforce any provision of these terms is not a waiver of our rights under that provision. Fair Credit Reporting Act. Ancestry is not a consumer reporting agency as defined in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, and the information that you can access on the services has not been collected in whole or in part for the purposes of furnishing consumer reports as defined in the FCRA. You shall not use the services as a factor in 1. Establishing an individual's eligibility for personal credit or insurance or assessing risks associated with existing consumer credit obligations. 2. Evaluating an individual for employment, promotion, reassignment or retention, including but not limited to employment of household workers such as babysitters, cleaning personnel, nannies, contractors and other individuals. Or 3. Any other personal business transaction with another individual, including but not limited to leasing an apartment. These terms and conditions were consolidated from separate prior versions. For prior versions of the terms and conditions applicable to the services, click here. And again, you can click on the link. So that particular reading took me just under 40 minutes. And that is the terms and conditions of Ancestry